Dear friends, welcome to our channel. We are very happy to share with you different stories about love and betrayal from around the world. So let's begin our story journey today. A worthless son-in-law should sit in a worthless place. Laughter from the guests echoed through the luxurious restaurant in Lucerne, Switzerland. Gareth sat at a corner table near the bathroom, his fork suspended in midair. His father-in-law Oswald stood beside the main table, raising a glass in one hand while pointing at him with the other, naked contempt on his face. What cut him even deeper was his wife Elena. The woman he had loved deeply for 6 years not only failed to defend him, but her lips curled upward as she joined in the laughter. She constantly served food to that so-called male best friend, Thaddeus, exchanging knowing glances with him. In that moment, Gareth understood everything. 6 years of devotion, 6 years of patience, reduced to an absurd farce. His gaze fell upon his 3-year-old son Finley at the main table, the boy's confused expression the only purity in this scene. Gareth put down his cutlery and stood up. There were no angry roars, no hysterical accusations, only a suffocating silence. He walked toward the main table, and all laughter abruptly ceased. "Finley, come home with Daddy," he said calmly, his voice low but unyielding. "Don't be ridiculous, Gareth. Today is my father's birthday," Elena said impatiently, her eyes not even leaving Thaddeus. "I said, Finley, come home with Daddy," Gareth repeated, his voice even more resolute this time. Oswald slammed the table and stood up. "What do you think you're doing? Daring to disrupt my birthday celebration? Don't forget your place." "I know my place perfectly well," Gareth picked up the confused but not crying Finley. "Better than any of you." He turned toward the exit, with Elena's sharp protests and Oswald's angry shouts behind him. When he pushed open the restaurant doors, the sight before him made everyone inside hold their breath. A row of men in black suits stood neatly outside, with a composed middle-aged man at the center. "Welcome home, young master and little master," the middle-aged man, Warwick, said respectfully, his voice not loud but instantly silencing the restaurant. Gareth looked around, watching confusion and fear gradually appear on the faces of those who had mocked him. His gaze finally rested on Elena's shocked face, that beauty that once moved his heart, now showing only falseness and greed. "Tomorrow," Gareth's voice was as cold as a winter lake. "These people must all disappear." He carried Finley toward the black luxury car, with Warwick opening the door for him. When the door closed, Gareth seemed to remove a mask he had worn for years, becoming once again the man he was meant to be, the sole heir of the Blackwood family, a man with unlimited power. Meanwhile, the guests in the restaurant fell into chaos and speculation. Elena stood frozen, her face ashen white. Thaddeus looked uneasily at the men in black outside, fine beads of sweat appearing on his forehead. Oswald gripped the edge of the table tightly, fear and confusion flickering in his eyes. They were all pondering the same question. Who exactly was Gareth? 6 years ago, when Gareth first met Elena, she was the manager of a high-end luxury goods store in Lucerne, radiant and confident. At that time, he had just left his family, eager to experience ordinary life unrestrained by family obligations. As the sole heir of the Blackwood family, he had grown up in a world that was magnificent but cold. The family controlled a vast business empire spanning banking, resource investments, and high-end luxury goods, with assets exceeding 10 billion euros. "I don't want an arranged marriage, nor do I want to live in a script arranged by others," he told his father at 29. It was a fierce argument that ended with Gareth leaving home. He concealed his identity, taking only modest assets, and found work as an ordinary accountant in Lucerne. No one knew that this gentle, introverted young man had actually received education from top business schools, was fluent in 5 languages, and had participated in many major decisions for the group. Meeting Elena seemed like destiny to Gareth. Her enthusiasm and vitality were completely different from the wealthy heiresses he had encountered in the past. They fell in love, married, and soon had Finley. Gareth thought he had found true happiness, until cracks in reality began to appear. In their 3rd year of marriage, Elena's family's watch business began to decline. After Finley was born, household expenses increased, and pressure came with it. Elena began to complain that Gareth lacked ambition. questioning why he was satisfied with an ordinary accountant's job and salary. Look at my classmate Penelope. Her husband was just promoted to bank vice president, and they bought a new villa this year. Elena would often say. And you? 6 years and still a small accountant. Not even a promotion. Gareth could have explained everything with one sentence, letting her know his true identity. But that wasn't the life he wanted, nor the love he sought. He hoped to be loved for who he truly was, not as the heir to the Blackwood family. Initially, he thought Elena was just temporarily dissatisfied and would rediscover their love. But her complaints grew more frequent, her attitude increasingly cold. 6 months ago, Thaddeus appeared, a gallery owner a few years older than Elena, eloquent and always able to make her laugh. Gareth noticed his wife began to frequent that gallery, returning home later and later. Just a friend from work. Elena would always explain when Gareth inquired, though her eyes no longer met his. Gareth began to suspect, but had no evidence. He could have used family resources to investigate. Warwick privately proposed several times to have someone follow Elena, but Gareth refused. He wanted to trust his wife and maintain his last shred of dignity. Until Oswald's birthday party. That night completely tore away the veil of appearances. Gareth finally saw the reality. His marriage was long dead in all but name. His wife had not only betrayed him, but publicly humiliated him with her father. The black car drove toward the Blackwood family estate at the foot of the Alps. Finley had fallen asleep in Gareth's arms, tear tracks still visible on his small face. "Young master, do you need me to arrange for people to collect evidence?" Warwick asked softly. Gareth shook his head. "No need. Let the past remain in the past." Then, regarding Ms. Elena and that Mr. Thaddeus, I said, "Tomorrow these people must all disappear." Gareth's voice was calm and firm. "I don't mean their lives, but their existence in my and Finley's lives. I want them to understand the price of betrayal." Warwick nodded. "I understand, young master. Everything will be done according to your wishes." Outside the window, the brightly lit city of Lucerne gradually receded. Gareth gazed at the dark lake surface, the last trace of hesitation in his heart also dissipating. He decided to end this game of self-exile, to once again accept his identity and responsibilities. Not for revenge, but for Finley, for their future. Elena stood in the empty apartment living room, clutching a thick document in her hand. Outside, the sun shone brightly on Lake Lucerne, in stark contrast to the storm within her. "This isn't possible," she muttered, looking through the divorce agreement. Gareth's full name was boldly printed on the document. Gareth Blackwood, sole heir to the Blackwood Group. She had mocked his lack of ability countless times, belittled him as a useless husband in front of her father, and reality had given her a resounding slap in the face. Gareth was not only the heir to Switzerland's wealthiest family, but a man who could easily destroy her entire world. "Why didn't you tell me?" she questioned the heir, then realized how ironic the answer was. He had been seeking someone who truly loved him, while she had repaid his sincerity with falsehood. The phone ring interrupted her thoughts. It was Thaddeus. "Elena, we need to talk." Thaddeus's voice betrayed his unease. "I just received a notice from the bank that all my credit has been frozen, and my main clients have suddenly canceled their cooperation." "What?" Elena asked in surprise. "How can that be?" "Not only that," Thaddeus lowered his voice. "Someone is spreading our photos and information in wealthy circles, saying I'm a con man who seduces married women." "Elena, this is terrible. My career and reputation are ruined." "So?" Elena laughed coldly, suddenly understanding his purpose. "I think we should keep our distance, at least for now." Thaddeus hesitated. "This is clearly a misunderstanding. We're just friends. Those photos and information were misinterpreted." "Friends?" Elena's voice was dripping with sarcasm. "So what happened in the hotel last night was also normal interaction between friends." "Elena, you need to be rational." Thaddeus's tone grew anxious. "We're facing the Blackwood family. Do you know what they mean in Swiss financial circles? I must distance myself, or I'm finished in Switzerland." The phone went silent for a moment, then Thaddeus sighed. "I'm sorry, Elena, but I must think of myself. I hope you understand." The call ended, and Elena felt dizzy. Before she could recover, the doorbell rang again. Opening the door, she found a pair of unfamiliar lawyers. "Ms. Elena, we represent the Blackwood law firm." This is the document regarding visitation arrangements for Finley. The female lawyer handed her another document. Elena took it with trembling hands. Visitation rights? Yes. Considering your inappropriate behavior, the court is likely to award full custody of Finley to Mr. Gareth. However, Mr. Gareth, taking into account the importance of the mother-child relationship, is willing to allow you to visit Finley once a month, provided that all regulations in the document are followed. Elena looked through the document, tears blurring her vision. The document detailed evidence of her inappropriate relationship with Thaddeus, records of verbal abuse toward Gareth with her father, and proof of her long-term neglect of Finley's needs. All this would be highly unfavorable evidence against her in court. Is this how he gets revenge? Elena asked with a bitter smile, using money and power to crush me? The lawyer maintained an expressionless face. Mr. Gareth has never used the word revenge. He is simply exercising his legal rights, protecting his interests and those of his son. The document also includes transition funds, enough to cover your basic living expenses for half a year. This is Mr. Garrett's final generosity. After the lawyers left, Elena called her father. To her surprise, Oswald's voice was filled with fear. Do you know what you've done? Oswald was almost shouting, the Blackwood family. You betrayed the heir to the Blackwood family. All my business partners received photos of you and Thaddeus. My reputation is destroyed. All investors are withdrawing their capital. The bank is demanding immediate loan repayment. Dad, I didn't know who Gareth was. Elena tried to explain. What good is saying that now? Oswald interrupted, his voice revealing desperation. Clean up your own mess. Don't expect me to help you with anything. The call ended, and Elena collapsed to the floor. In just 24 hours, everything had crumbled. Marriage, reputation, family, security, everything she had taken for granted had vanished in the betrayal she herself had caused. She looked up at the family photo on the wall, Gareth, herself, and Finley smiling at the foot of the Alps. Back then, Gareth's gaze was gentle and loving. How had she failed to notice the depth and strength hidden behind that gaze? In the evening, Elena left what was once her home, dragging a suitcase. She rented a small apartment in the city center, paying the first month's rent and deposit with the transition money from Gareth. Standing in that unfamiliar space, the cold walls seemed to silently mock her stupidity and arrogance. She took out her phone, looking through her conversations with Thaddeus. Those flirtatious words, those plans for dates behind Gareth's back, those dreams about the future, now seemed ridiculous. Thaddeus had never truly cared about her. He was only interested in her social position and family background. When these disappeared, he fled faster than anyone. Elena deleted all of Thaddeus's contact information and began looking for job opportunities on tourism websites. She had been a luxury store manager, knew multiple languages, and should be able to find decent work to support herself. A few days later, representatives from the Blackwood law firm visited again, bringing detailed information about the Finley visitation arrangements. The last Saturday of each month, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., the lawyer explained. A car will come to pick you up half an hour in advance. The first visit will take place in 1 month. These conditions are non-negotiable. Elena could only accept in silence. 1 month, she would have to wait a whole month to see her son. And this was already Gareth's greatest mercy. Meanwhile, Gareth officially returned to the Blackwood Group as chief executive officer. His return caused a sensation in Swiss financial circles, and the group's stock price rose immediately. The media rushed to report on this mysterious heir, but Gareth declined all interview requests, focusing on the group's business and caring for Finley. At the Blackwood estate, Finley seemed to adapt to the new environment. Gareth brought in child psychologists to help Finley understand the reality that his parents were separated. "Daddy, where's Mommy?" Finley would often ask. Gareth would kneel down, looking into his son's eyes. "Mommy needs some time alone. But she loves you, and she'll come to see you soon." Although internally he was still furious about Elena's betrayal, Gareth couldn't bear to speak ill of her in front of Finley. Children should not bear the conflicts and hatred between adults. "Young master." One evening, Warwick reported to Gareth in his study. "Following your instructions, we haven't directly interfered with Mr. Thaddeus's life, but his career and reputation have naturally collapsed. Creditors are pressing him hard, and he will likely leave Switzerland." Gareth nodded. "What about Oswald?" His company has filed for bankruptcy protection, but the situation is not optimistic. Most of his assets will be auctioned to pay debts. He currently lives in a retirement community in the suburbs, in poor health. Gareth looked out the window, his expression complex. I don't want Finley's grandfather to be homeless or burdened with debt. Please arrange for someone to quietly help him maintain basic living standards, but don't let him know where the money comes from. Warwick looked at Gareth in surprise. Young master, considering Oswald's attitude toward you. This isn't for Oswald, Gareth interrupted. It's for Finley. I don't want him to know in the future that his grandfather fell into misfortune because of me. Warwick nodded respectfully. As you command, young master. Your tolerance is admirable. Gareth shook his head. It's not tolerance, Warwick, it's responsibility. I am no longer just the heir to the Blackwood family, but also Finley's father. Every decision I make will affect his growth and values. I may not forgive betrayal, but I won't become a cold-blooded avenger because of it. Late at night, Gareth went to Finley's room, watching his sleeping son. Finley's small face looked particularly peaceful in the moonlight, as if this storm had never happened. Gareth gently kissed his son's forehead, determined in his heart. No matter how many challenges lay ahead, he would be a good father, giving Finley the best love and protection. As for Elena, she had made her choice and must bear the consequences. 3 months later, autumn sunlight bathed the lawn of the Blackwood estate. Finley chased a ball across the grass, his laughter clear and bright. Gareth sat on the terrace, processing documents while keeping an eye on his son's activities. During these 3 months, the Blackwood Group had been revitalized under Gareth's leadership. He boldly pushed forward green energy investments, acquired several promising tech startups, and restructured the group's management. The group's stock price reached an all-time high, and the industry praised his vision and insight. More importantly, Finley was thriving in his new environment. He attended the private kindergarten on the estate, made new friends, and with the help of professional psychologists, gradually came to understand the reality of his parents' separation. Gareth made time to accompany his son whenever possible, ensuring at least 2 hours of father-son time every day, no matter how busy he was. Daddy, can I go see Mommy? Finley suddenly asked, letting the ball roll aside. Gareth put down his documents and walked toward his son. Of course, Finley. Mommy will come to see you soon. We talked about this, remember? Finley nodded, but his face showed confusion. Then why doesn't Mommy live with us? Preston says his mommy and daddy live together. Gareth knelt down, looking seriously into his son's eyes. Every family is different, Finley. Some parents live together, some live apart. But no matter what, Mommy and Daddy both love you. That will never change. Finley seemed to accept this explanation and returned to chasing his ball. Gareth watched his son walk away, feelings mixed in his heart. Although Elena's betrayal had cut him deeply, he couldn't bear to speak ill of her in front of Finley. Young master, Warwick approached. Ms. Elena's first visit is scheduled for tomorrow. Security and legal representatives are all in place. Gareth nodded. Tell them to keep a low profile. I don't want Finley to feel uncomfortable. Warwick hesitated for a moment. Young master, Ms. Elena has been looking for work, but due to the impact of her divorce from you, many companies refuse to hire her. That's not our concern, Warwick. Gareth's tone was cold. She must bear the consequences of her choices. I understand, young master. Just, her financial situation might affect her relationship with Finley. Gareth thought for a moment. I'll give her sufficient child support to ensure she has a basically decent life. Not for her, but for Finley. I don't want him to know in the future that his mother was living in hardship. The next morning, a black car stopped punctually in front of Elena's apartment building. The driver was respectful but distant. Ms. Elena, please get in the car. We are heading to the Blackwood estate. After boarding, Elena found a smartly dressed young woman in the car. Hello, Ms. Elena. I am Rhiannon from the Blackwood Group's legal department, the woman said formally. I need to remind you that during the visit, you will be accompanied at all times, no alone time is allowed, and you must not mention any conflicts between you and Mr. Gareth to Finley. Violations of these rules will immediately terminate visitation rights. Elena nodded without arguing. She knew these rules were already Gareth's greatest concession. The scenery outside the window gradually changed from urban to suburban and finally to mountainous areas. The Blackwood estate was located at the foot of the Alps, covering an area comparable to a small kingdom. Tall iron gates were carved with the Blackwood family crest, solemn and magnificent. Finley was waiting in the entrance hall of the estate, accompanied by the butler. Seeing Elena, he hesitated for a moment, then ran over. "Mommy." Elena hugged her son tightly, tears streaming down. "Finley, Mommy has missed you so much." The 2-hour visit passed quickly. Finley excitedly showed Elena his new toys, new friends, and new knowledge he had learned. Elena was surprised to find how much her son had progressed in just 3 months, speaking more clearly and thinking more actively. "Daddy plays with me every day and teaches me to read," Finley said proudly. "He says when I'm a bit older, he'll teach me to play chess." Elena held back tears, smiling as she listened to her son describe his new life. Gareth never appeared. The entire visit was supervised by the butler. At parting, Finley was reluctant to let go. "Mommy, when will you come back?" "Soon, sweetheart. Mommy will come see you again very soon." Elena kissed her son's cheeks. Back in the car, Elena gazed at the scenery through the window, complex emotions difficult to express. She felt relieved that Finley had a better living environment, but pained by her absence from her son's life. Most painful was knowing that all of this was caused by her own actions. She couldn't help but recall moments with Gareth. He had always been a gentle and considerate husband. Though not talkative, he expressed his love through actions. She had complained about his lack of ambition, not knowing he was already at the top of the pyramid, only choosing simplicity and discretion. Thinking about it now, hadn't Gareth concealed his identity precisely to find true love? And what had she done? As soon as life didn't meet her expectations, she began complaining, and finally even betrayal. Thaddeus's flowery words and superficial charm had clouded her judgment, making her forget what was truly valuable. During these days, Elena had tried to apply for jobs at several hotels and stores, but was either rejected or offered only low-paying positions. She had been a high-end luxury store manager. Now she could only work as an ordinary sales clerk or receptionist. This fall was hard to accept, but she had no choice. Meanwhile, Thaddeus's situation was even worse. His gallery closed down, creditors were pressing, and his reputation was in tatters. No one wanted to work with a disloyal person. He tried to contact Elena for help, but she had seen his true colors and gave no response. 3 days later, Elena received an unexpected transfer, enough money to pay 3 months' rent and basic living expenses. The sender was listed as TB Foundation, with no explanation. Elena knew the money came from Gareth and understood it was for Finley's sake, not forgiveness for her. This money gave Elena a brief respite, but also made her more clearly recognize her situation. She needed to get back on her feet quickly, for herself, and to face Finley with a clear conscience. She eventually found a job as a receptionist at a mid-range hotel. The salary wasn't high, but enough to maintain a basic life. Facing strangers' smiles and occasional unreasonable demands every day was a trial for someone who had once been in a privileged position, but she persevered. A month later, Elena was again permitted to visit Finley. This time, she brought a small cake she had made herself and a drawing of Finley's favorite cartoon character. "Mommy, you look different," Finley said innocently. Elena smiled. "Really? How am I different?" "You look more like a mommy." Finley tilted his head. "Not like before, when you always seemed in a hurry." Elena was struck by this simple observation, which plunged her into thought. Indeed, since starting this ordinary job, she had more time to think about life. Material scarcity had helped her see what truly mattered. "Young master." That same evening, Warwick reported to Gareth, "Mr. Thaddeus has left Switzerland, reportedly heading to some Eastern European country to start over. As for Mr. Oswald, his health continues to deteriorate. Doctors estimate he may not survive this winter." Gareth was silent for a moment. "Arrange for specialist consultations. Ensure Oswald receives the best medical care." Warwick nodded. "It's already arranged, young master. However, he seems to know the source of the funds and refuses to accept Blackwood's charity." Gareth smiled bitterly. "He's still as stubborn as ever." "One more thing, young master," Warwick continued. "Ms. Elena has found work at a hotel, but the conditions are quite average. Your instructions are maintain the status quo," Gareth firmly decided. She needs to learn to live independently. However, ensure that Finley's child support arrives on time. That's what she deserves. Gareth walked to the window, gazing at the distant outline of the Alps. In the 3 months since returning to the family, he had not only restored the Blackwood Group's reputation, but led the company to new heights. Industry insiders called him the invisible business genius, marveling at how he could still grasp market trends after a 6-year absence. But Gareth knew the real challenge wasn't business success, but how to rebuild his life after losing trust, how to create an environment full of love and integrity for Finley under the shadow of betrayal. He no longer hated Elena, at least not with the initial anger. He only felt disappointed in her and regretted that marriage built on falsehood and misunderstanding. Now, his heart had cooled, his only concern being Finley and the family's future. Winter gave way to spring, and a year passed swiftly. The Blackwood Group thrived under Gareth's leadership, becoming a cornerstone of the Swiss financial world. Gareth not only continued the family's traditional businesses, but extended reach into new fields, especially sustainable energy and biotechnology, earning widespread industry acclaim. Finley was now 4.5, growing into a lively and intelligent boy. At the estate's private school, he showed exceptional learning abilities and social skills, with teachers saying he had inherited his father's wisdom and charm. Elena's life gradually stabilized. She was promoted from receptionist to customer relations manager, with a better salary, sufficient to maintain a relatively decent life. Monthly visits to Finley were the days she looked forward to most, though each parting still caused deep pain. That day, Gareth received a call from Warwick in his office. "Young master, Mr. Oswald's condition has taken a sharp turn for the worse. Doctors say he may have only a few weeks left. He has expressed a wish to see Finley one last time." Gareth was silent for a moment. "Arrange it, but someone must accompany him. I don't want him to impart any negativity to Finley in his final moments." Days later, Finley, accompanied by the nanny and a bodyguard, went to visit his grandfather Oswald at the nursing home. A year had completely transformed the once imposing old man. He was emaciated, his face ashen, surrounded by medical equipment. Elena was already waiting by the bedside, and seeing her son enter, she held back tears and smiled. "Finley, come here. Let grandfather see you," Oswald said weakly. Finley obediently approached, but it was evident that this sick old man seemed strange to him. He remembered his grandfather as someone who always spoke loudly and gestured a lot, not this frail elder. "You've grown taller, and you look more like your father," Oswald reflected, taking Finley's small hand. "Finley, grandfather wants to tell you something. I didn't understand your father well before, said many bad things. But now I understand. He's an excellent man, a good father. You should listen to him, understand?" Finley nodded seriously. "I love Daddy. He's the best daddy in the world." Oswald managed a difficult smile. "Yes, he is." After the visit, Elena remained with her father. In the hospital bed, Oswald looked 20 years older than his actual age, his former pride and stubbornness consumed by illness. "I was really wrong, Elena," Oswald murmured, his voice weak. "Gareth is a good man, much better than I imagined. Even after what we did to him, he still secretly pays for my medical expenses. The hospital people think I don't know, but I asked. It's an organization called TB Foundation." Elena opened her eyes in surprise. "Are you sure it's Gareth? Who else could it be?" Oswald smiled bitterly. "Blackwood. I should have guessed. He surely hates us, yet still helps an old man who humiliated him." Elena took her father's hand, tears rolling down. "Not just you, Dad. I also made an unforgivable mistake. Gareth could have used his power and wealth to completely destroy us, but he didn't. He only made us bear the consequences we deserved, nothing more." Oswald closed his eyes, seeming tired. "Gareth is stronger than us, not just because of his wealth and position, but because of his character. A pity we recognized it too late." Meanwhile, Gareth received a special report at the company. Warwick handed him a document. "Young master, this is the latest information on Thaddeus. His new gallery in Budapest is also struggling. He's deeply in debt. The local art world considers him unreliable and lacking in artistic judgment." Gareth briefly glanced at the document and calmly said, "That doesn't concern us, Warwick. I'm not interested in his future." Warwick nodded. Understood, young master. Just routine reporting. He paused and continued. Young master, regarding Finley's schooling, we've selected 3 top-tier international schools for when he's ready for primary school next year. Gareth looked at Finley's photo on his desk and smiled. He's growing so fast. Sometimes I wonder, if I had told Elena my identity from the beginning, perhaps our marriage would have had a different ending. Warwick reflected for a moment. Young master, if I may say, if someone loves you only for your identity and wealth, is such love worth cherishing? Gareth smiled bitterly. You're right, Warwick. I chose to hide my identity to find a partner who truly loved me as a person. Now I see that was just a beautiful fantasy. Young master, not everyone changes because of material things. Someday, you will meet someone truly worthy of your trust. Gareth shook his head. Perhaps, but not now. Now, I just want to focus on Finley and the future of the family. 3 months later, Oswald passed away peacefully in the hospital. The funeral was simple but dignified, with few attendees. Gareth attended with Finley, showing basic respect. Elena cried throughout the ceremony, but Gareth maintained his distance. After the funeral, the Blackwood Group organized a charity event to raise funds for children's education. Gareth, as the host, gave a speech that attracted prominent figures from throughout Switzerland. Elena watched Gareth on the television news, that man she once considered ordinary, now radiant and admirable. With the passage of time, Thaddeus's situation in Budapest became increasingly difficult. His gallery finally closed, leaving him with enormous debts. Worse still, he was accused of art forgery, and local police launched an investigation. The once elegant gallery owner now showed only desperation and shame. He tried to contact several former wealthy clients, but all avoided him, refusing to associate with someone disloyal. Another year passed, and the Blackwood Group thrived under Gareth's leadership. He not only successfully expanded the group's businesses, but created a foundation to support young artists, making a positive contribution to society. Business magazines named him Entrepreneur of the Year, praising how he brought a century-old family business into a new era. Finley was now 6, about to enter an international school. He was intelligent and lively, and under Gareth's guidance, showed leadership potential. Although he lacked his mother's daily companionship, Gareth gave him enough love and attention, ensuring he grew up happy and healthy. Elena's life became peaceful. She was now a senior customer manager at the hotel, responsible for receiving important guests. Her salary wasn't abundant, but sufficient to maintain a relatively comfortable life. The monthly visits were the most precious times in her life. Her relationship with Finley, from initial awkwardness, became natural, but could never return to what it once was. As for Gareth, he always maintained a polite but distant attitude, with no personal conversations. Thaddeus, after serving 2 years in Budapest, was released but expelled from the country, completely disappearing from Elena's life. He tried to contact her several times seeking help, but Elena had seen his true nature and gave no response. One weekend, Gareth took Finley skiing. On the alpine slopes, father and son enjoyed a much-needed leisure time. "Daddy, I love you," Finley suddenly said. Gareth hugged his son, smiling. "Daddy loves you too, Finley. You are Daddy's most important person." Finley looked up at his father. "Daddy, will you find another mommy? My friend Preston says his daddy found a new mommy after divorce." Gareth stroked his son's head. "Maybe someday, but not now. Now, Daddy just wants to take good care of you. Make sure you grow up happy and healthy." In reality, although many women showed interest in Gareth, he always kept his distance. The scars of betrayal made him exceptionally cautious about feelings, preferring to devote his energy to business and raising Finley. After a board meeting, a senior director remarked, "Gareth, you've led the Blackwood Group into a new era, but the family needs continuity. Finley needs siblings, and you need a new partner." Gareth responded with a smile. "All will come in due time, Director. Right now, my priority is to ensure Finley has a healthy, growing environment and to prepare the group for the next century." Back home, Gareth received Warwick's report. "Young Master, Ms. Elena requests to increase visitation frequency, wishing to see Finley once a week." Gareth looked at Finley, who was doing homework in the study. "Ask Finley what he thinks. If he agrees, we can arrange it." That night, Gareth conveyed Elena's request to Finley. Finley thought about it and nodded. For him, although life centered around his father, seeing his mother more often was also good. The next day, Gareth notified Elena, through Warwick, that he agreed to increase the visit frequency, conditions remaining the same. Elena, upon receiving the notification, felt relieved. This was the biggest concession Gareth had made to her in years. Although she understood the gap between them could never be bridged, being able to accompany her son more was already a great comfort. Life continued this way. Gareth led the family business to new glories, raising Finley to be an excellent heir. Elena strived in her ordinary world, cherishing every moment with her son. And Thaddeus, in some distant corner, spent the rest of his life in anonymity, becoming a forgotten passerby. Years later, when Finley entered university and began to get involved in the family business, he asked his father, "Dad, have you never forgiven Mom? Not even a little?" Gareth looked at his now adult son and said serenely, "Finley, some things aren't about forgiveness or not. Betrayal breaks trust, and once broken, it's like shattered glass. Even if forcibly glued together, it's never complete again. I don't hate your mother, just that our paths have completely separated." Finley reflected, "But you both love me. That has never changed." Gareth smiled. "Yes, that will never change. Whatever happens, we both love you. It's the only thing your mother and I agree on." Finley hugged his father. "Thank you, Dad. Thank you for teaching me what true responsibility and dignity are." Gareth patted his son's shoulder, looking at his determined eyes, knowing all his efforts had been worthwhile. In the shadow of betrayal, he had protected the most precious gift, his son's love and respect. And that meant more than any revenge or forgiveness. If this story resonated with you, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating content. We look forward to seeing you in our next story.